Welcome to the Men of Honor podcast. My name is Corey, your host, and today we're going to be talking about mentorship and being able to follow somebody that's already been successful. I think this is one of the things that many men go through, that through their lives, they feel like they don't need anyone. In fact, the moment that you reach adulthood, and I know this because of my son, he's in a situation where he's fallen in love with a girl, and his mom were not totally on the same page with him in terms of the girl that he's in love with. So, and we're trying to just sort of advise him so he can get a few more, because he's not had many girlfriends, so he doesn't have that reference experience in terms of what it feels like, and he's sort of getting a girlfriend from a place of scarcity and stuff like that. And this is what many men do, and I've seen it so many times. When I was a dating coach, I saw this. So it's not unusual for a woman. By the time she comes to the age of 18, she's had at least 20 to 30 reference experiences, in terms of maybe 30 guys by then who would have tried to take her out, be a boyfriend or whatever. And a lot of the times she says no, because sometimes we tend to come across quite creepy and stuff. So anyways, he's in this situation, and I'm trying to now give him some advice on it, because I've dated quite a few women, and I know what it feels like to be in that situation. But at the same time, because of the situation that he's in, it's a very complex situation. So this girlfriend that he started dating is in America. So because she's in America, it makes it a little bit different. There's no kissing, there's no cuddling, there's just video calls and stuff. So it's possible to actually have a relationship and actually eventually when they meet. And obviously the only concerns that we have is obviously that if the relationship progresses, one of them is going to have to move at some point. So one of them my son might end up having to move to America, or she might have to move to the UK. So it is one of those things that somebody's going to have to make that decision. Somebody might end up getting hurt, but at the same time, like I said to my wife, it's better that we just assume that it's a good thing for both of them. And when we get something negative come out of it, then we face it when it comes in. But at this moment in time, we just assume that it's something that is good. Now, that is all being said because he's 18, I can only speak to him to a certain point. And he has to see me as a guide for him in terms of those relationships. So you can only listen to me to a certain extent. Unlike when I used to coach other students, I wasn't married at the time, so I could actually approach a dozen girls in front of them in a club or in the street or anywhere, and I would be able to demonstrate that I know what I'm talking about when it comes to women. In this case, I don't have that sort of reference experience, so I cannot give him that sort of proof that I actually know what I'm talking about. And it's quite interesting, because when I think of it now, is that in my life, there's many times when I've taken it upon myself to get a goal. And in this case, I've tried to, like I said yesterday, I want to make £1 million, and that's my shot. I called my shot that I want to be a millionaire. And a lot of it before I started was for superficial reasons, just to change my status. But over time, that has evolved into something that is more of a meaningful goal in terms of financial freedom for my family, spending time with my family, so I can watch my kids grow and invest in my children and invest in the rest of my family. So it has evolved into that. But at the same time, it's quite easy to get a tunnel vision and just want to do it all by myself, because I feel like I'm a man, I should be handling this. And in most cases, you don't want to ask for help. And sometimes you do sort of get help, but like anything, sometimes when you ask for help from somebody, they are offering up their time, and sometimes they cannot offer up their free time. So in order to get the help, it means that you now have to pay for that time. So lately, I've been talking to a few therapists because I've been thinking about going into counseling and just talking through some of my situations in terms of just being able to deal with negative emotions and how I process it and being able to cope and not act out in ways that are negative. So whether it's eating or porn. And by the way, in just to put this out there, it's been many weeks without watching porn. It's been many weeks. Well, it's now the second week without really eating much junk. I did have a couple of cans of beer on the weekend, but I haven't gone out of my way to eat like chocolate and stuff. So it's been a steady progress. And in the last few days since Monday, I've been pretty good in terms of the diet. And I feel like there's no cravings. I'm just now really focused and putting the book that I read about habits and how he talks about rewards. And so I'm putting things in place in order to maintain it. But this podcast episode is to really just point out that at certain points, I am going to need somebody to mentor me. So in terms of exercise, I started looking, I was doing it all by myself. So I was following people on Instagram, finding their workouts, and then trying to copy their workouts. But in order to actually get that real success, I now need to find a group of people that are like-minded, but also somebody who can teach me. So I've chosen that I'm going to do Muay Thai. And in terms of my fitness goals, it's going to tie in with me trying to gain success, following a certain method, but based on the mentor I follow. And then in terms of financial success, I've reached out to a guy who's been posting really good things online, and he's been doing pretty well. And he said, "Does anybody want to mentor?" And I said, "Yes." And we had a little chat, and hopefully I'll have a conversation with him. But it was just another example that this is somebody who's already achieving success. They know how to get to where I'm going, so I'll have to follow. And without communicating with him, I know that this takes time to mentor somebody, so there might be my investment of time, probably investment of money as well. So it's worth saying that, can I afford it? If I can afford it, then I'll go for it. But depending on, I know that for a fact that there is a lot that I can learn from somebody in terms of that. And you can follow this same system on many different things. That's why in this podcast, I'm documenting my journey, and I know that I'm ahead of some other people within the journey, so they can learn from me. And that's one of the things that is important, that you just need to find somebody who is already achieving those goals that you want in your life, and then you follow. So in terms of being a good husband, there's certain people that I might see that are demonstrating very good habits, very good things that I desire, and those are the people I would follow and try and just figure out what is it that is making them be successful with that, when it comes to parenting and everything. So, and some of it, there's different ways of actually following a mentor. And I think there's this misconception of that you have to have somebody who's going to be talking at you every single day, or somebody who's going to give you one-on-one time. Mentorship can happen within a group. It can happen digitally, so you can have buy a course from somebody, and then they can educate you over a period of time. And even though you're part of a group, there is some mentoring that is happening, So I might be misrepresenting the word and not defining it the way it's supposed to be. It could be mentoring could mean one-to-one by all means, but I apologize if that's what it means. But from my personal experience, I've realized that mentoring can actually happen as a group way. It can also happen as an individual. But the key thing about this episode is actually looking within your life. You may take an audit of your life and see what is it that I need, or what is it that is missing that I can improve. And if you cannot do it by yourself, there's different ways you can do it. I find personally, my method of doing things is definitely I go and look out for a book. In fact, I don't just read one book. I read several books about that subject. When I read several books about that subject, then I find somebody online who's already trying to achieve that same goal, or at least who has achieved that same goal. If I do, then I try and follow them, and then I try and communicate with them, and then see if I can, help them with something so they can help me with the thing that I'm trying to achieve. and it's been successful in some respects. So there's some people I've spoken to. In the last few months ago, I got really knuckling down on intimacy and romance, and I got to speak to a lot of sex coaches and people that deal with intimacy and stuff. And one of them ended up telling me to actually think about trauma. So I started focusing on trauma. So I've been geeking out a lot on trauma, what causes trauma, and how it affects your mind and your childhood, and the rest of your life. And so it's been such an amazing journey in terms of up until now that I got to the point where I'm just open enough to say yes. When somebody says, "Do you want mentorship?" I'm the first to lift my hand and say yes. I'm going to put pride aside. I'm not going to be the guy who's going to be driving with his family in the back, and while I'm lost, I'm not going to ask for directions. I'm quite happy to be humble enough to ask for directions and say, "Excuse me, can you please help me to get to this position?" So I hope this podcast episode is helpful. And just to recap, it's really important to have a mentor. And you can do this in different levels through books, following people on the social medias. Also, podcasting is another positive way of following a mentor and being mentored. So finding somebody who's already achieved that goal and is talking about it often. And usually when they're actually podcasting, just like I'm doing right now, is that discovering new things, they're actually talking about them and sharing with people. So you're constantly learning on that topic. So there's several people I follow in terms of podcasting. The people that talk about relationships. I follow people that talk about business, about marketing, and I'm just constantly learning. And obviously, for me to actually, there's just a long. All these different stages have got time periods. So for a book, sometimes you can get a really good book that can just give you instant change, and then sometimes you might have to listen to a podcast for a long period of time in order to see some change. And then obviously, if you want to have the fastest and quickest way of getting change, is actually getting mentor one-to-one with the person or be part of a group. So that means that you have to pay for their time. So it's one of those things that it's a fact of life, and we're all in different journeys, we're all in different parts. So if I had the money, I would be just getting mentors for pretty much everything. But because I cannot, I have to go and read books, and then I have to go to podcasts, and I have to join certain groups and different things like that. And it's the desire of learning first, and it's the desire to actually it's the thing to actually recognize that yes, I need help. And most men avoid saying I need help, because by saying I need help, there's this preconceived idea that you failed. But it's not. Failure, I think, is the one that not asking for help. Actually, if you cannot ask for help, then you failed. And this is one of the reasons why the Men of Honor Facebook group was started, is the fact that we wanted to bring awareness to men that it's okay to be part of a group. It's okay for you to say you don't know. It's okay for you to say I'm struggling. It's okay for you to say I need help, because this is one of the main reasons why many men commit suicide. Like the percentage of men under the age of 50 that are committing suicide is unbelievable. The number is it's crazy number. And it's because they will not ask for help. So when they are struggling and they're living in hell within their thoughts and their emotions and everything else like that, and they feel isolated because they feel like they cannot ask for help. So I thought I'd make this episode because I just spoke to this guy who he asked whether he said, does anybody want mentorship? I said yes. And I don't know at what level we're going to be interacting at, whether it's going to be viable for me to actually pay for his personal time, because I am a big believer in paying for personal time. If somebody gives you personal time, you pay for it. But at the same time, if he can stretch it out, whether he can help me whenever he can, then that's it. So it's going to be, it's one of those things that is, I look at and audit my life and see where I need help. And in this case, I need help with the financial side of things, and I think you might have ideas that will be able to help me to progress the Men of Honor, not just the Men of Honor, but actually figure out ways of making money online that he's been doing. So he's been earning between £10,000 to $20,000 per month, and that's absolutely incredible. So it's going to be interesting to hear what he's doing and how is he doing it, and and how do I fit in terms of him mentoring. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So thank you very much for listening, and if you want to know more, you can join the Men of Honor Facebook group, and if you got any question, you can send me a DM on Instagram. My name is Kuri Mahamba on Instagram. I'll write it on the description somewhere within the podcast episode. So thank you very much for listening, and I'll be seeing you soon.